Hello everybody and welcome back to my garage Zero to Hero. Alright, so it's Friday morning and yeah, unfortunately as you guys can see, we didn't manage to secure Grandpa's old shop. So some big investor actually bought the place, and yeah, as you can see they started tearing this place down. So it's a little bit sad. There's a lot of memories going on with this place. But yeah, I'm sure they are going to utilize this space for something probably important or whatever they want to do with it. So yeah, that is quite a bit of a bummer. But yeah, let's just cut our losses and just carry on, I guess. So luckily we do have got quite a sizable property at the moment, and we are going to be able to expand on that. But yes, I think now we can just fire this old 69 Impala up of ours, because yeah, I just came to put in some gasoline as well, and I just wanted to see Granddad's old shop one last time. So yeah, we are gonna head over to Hugo's house now, because apparently he's got some work for us, and also he actually wanted to see me, something he wanted to discuss. So yeah, I guess let's head over there and basically see what this is all about. Alright, so we are over here at Hugo's house, and yeah, I don't see the BMW E36 parked here, so yeah, I guess we're gonna have to speak to Hugo. Hopefully he's awake because it's quite early. So yeah, let's give a knock on his door and just see if he is around. Right, so we had a little bit of a conversation with Hugo. Didn't have a whole lot of time to talk because he actually ordered himself a taxi. He's headed to his new house over in Middletown. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure what house it is that he bought in town, but apparently he's going to move over there soon. And as you can see, his house is now up for sale. And yeah, I kind of got to thinking that this little house of Hugo's is actually perfect for us, because it's got a little garage and we do have a little bit of a yard space there if we do go ahead and make an offer on the house. So Hugo is trying to get 125,000 for the place, which is quite a bit of money, but I think it's definitely a good investment buying a property of that caliber in this area. So it might actually be worthwhile for us to try and see if we can purchase this place, considering Grandpa's old shop is now basically a no-go for us. So obviously there's these two project vehicles still over here that Hugo has still got. So apparently this 55 Bel Air we've got over here, or two-door, I'm not exactly sure if it's considered a Bel Air, but yeah, this car was actually bought by Spartan. So Spartan did go ahead and make an offer on this car. Apparently Spartan is going to be in touch with us once he's ready for this vehicle to be transformed into some or other project of his. So I'm actually looking quite forward to that. And then, which also brings us to this 70s Chevelle that's quite a bit stripped over here. So this vehicle is going to be sort of payment for us towards the work we are going to do for Hugo on his BMW E36 over here. Because as you may have noticed, Hugo's truck is missing. That is because he sold it in order to pay for his new house over in Middletown. So yeah, he's definitely moving towards city life, and basically he's got a desk job going on in town. So for that reason he decided to get rid of his old pickup truck, and he's not going to be really dealing into vehicles as much anymore. He said he might still have the odd project now and then that he's going to have some work done to it by us. So yeah, that's a bit of a bummer actually, because Hugo was usually my go-to guy for buying old cars and also getting old parts from him. So yeah, this is going to be a bit of a bummer. And as you've guessed it, we are going to be leaving our 69 Impala for him to use as a courtesy vehicle for the time being, because our 1967 Chevy Impala is not yet ready. But yes, let's have a quick word about this BMW E36. So you guys already know we do have some spares that came off Richard's car. We don't really have a lot. We've got like the front bumper and the grille and also this headlight, but we are also going to have to order a couple of parts. So there's definitely still a bit of damage in this front section of the vehicle. The car is running and driving quite well now. He did get the tire rod that was missing, so at least this car is drivable. But he wants us to take care of all of the damage and also sort out suspension and a whole other stuff on this car needs a little bit of attention. So we are basically going to take this thing back to our shop now, and we will basically then just dig into this maybe a little bit later in this episode. So let's get this thing fired up once again. It's only got the inline 4 engine in it, so it's definitely not going to be a very fast car, but yeah, I think it's going to be great for Hugo if he starts using this thing as a daily. Right, so yes, let's head back to our shop and see what other work we need to do today as well. Alright, and we are back at our shop, and yes, straight off the bat you can already tell we did have a little bit more development going on. So the guys came and put some concrete on the floor for us and just elevated it a little bit, so we've got a little bit of a solid concrete block for the ramp truck to be parked on. And also we did extend this concrete quite a bit further. So I think this is going to be a very nice shop for us. We might actually expand a little bit more later down the line, extend the carport and maybe even close up the sides and make it like a proper workshop at some point. But yes, as you can see, we do have the ramp truck parked here off the side. That is because I do not want to drive any heavy vehicles on the new fresh concrete just yet. So we're going to give this a couple of days to just settle properly. We are able to walk on it because it's already sort of dry, so it's not a big issue. But yes, let's start talking about the work we are going to get into today. So as you can see, we do have got our old pickup truck here on the lift still. So in the last episode we took off all of the brakes and did a little bit of inspection on the suspension. So my plan is to put this thing back together so that we can get it mobile again, for in case we need it. So yeah, that is definitely one of the projects we need to tackle for today. And then in the garage, you have guessed it, we do have our 67 Limpala up onto the 2-post lift here. So we are going to be ripping this inline 6 engine out and also getting it fitted onto the engine stand over here, which we are then going to strip the engine and just go through everything and yeah, see what other parts we need to order for this thing to get it running right again. I think we already have got the 5-speed gearbox, but we do have the extra one that I ordered for Eric's 1968 Dodge Charger. So this is still a brand new gearbox. We might actually just mount this one if that one is showing some signs of wear. So that is my plan for this car for today. We're gonna just do engine work and try and sort this thing out once and for all. And then obviously if there's time left, we are going to have a look at Hugo's BMW and just see what work that also needs. And yeah, I think what we're going to do, let's tackle our pickup truck first over here. So we definitely want to try and get this thing put back together. So we do have got quite a bit of new parts like these rear hubs. So we're just going to go ahead and replace both of these with new ones, as I said. So this is where I'm going to start and we'll work our way forward. So let's get this hub mounted as well. Alright, and just like that, I'm going to bolt it down. Perfect. And then I think next up would be the brake shoes. So let's get these brake shoes fitted. We're going to use the old brake shoes on the one side because they are still fairly decent. These are still good as new in my opinion, as well as the old brake drum. So we're just going to reinstall this on this corner. That is going to require the screwdriver. Right, and let's just zip that down. So that is one corner done. And then we're going to bring our pads or our new brake shoes over to this side and just get them into place, just like that, into position. And we're going to grab our new brake drum for that side. Going to get it mounted. Alright, and let's just screw it down. That is looking very good. Alright, so far so good. We are making progress. We still need to mount a brake line at the back. So let's just grab a new brake hose, or a soft brake hose. That's the word I was looking for. I don't know why I'm talking about the fuel line, but yes, we are going to be replacing the fuel line as well. And while we are here under this truck, I just want to double check all the bolts, because I did find a loose bolt on one of the front leaf springs. So I just want to make sure everything is nice and tight. I believe that is good. We've got our brake hoses nice and tight. Our shock absorbers are still bolted down. Let's just check on the differential. Everything is nice and snug, so that is very good. Alright, so no bolts on that. We've got a bolt, well, 3 bolts on there. Those are all tight. Alright, and these ones, they also seem to be very good. This little drive shaft for the front, yeah, that is all nice and tight. Oh, that's the one that goes to the transmission. Okay. Alright, so this one, yeah, there's no bolts on that. Yeah, now I think everything is probably nice and tight on this truck. So we can continue and just replace our front hub carrier. So this actually needs to come on after the half axle. I nearly jumped the gun over there. Alright, so let's pop this new half axle into place, and then we can get this part fitted. And we'll just bolt it down over there and there. Alright, so next up, let's grab the new hub and just zip it down. And we're going to grab a new brake disc, brand spanking new, nice and thick. So that is going to solve the brake issues on this truck, hopefully. And then we've got some brake calipers. Alright, so let's just get these brake pads installed. Alright, that is good. And we're going to grab the brake hose for it. Just got to find a sweet spot where this needs to go on. Just over there. And while we are here, let's just quickly sort out the opposite side as well. We're going to get this brake hose mounted to this caliper. Alright, so that's the brake hose on. So now we're going to grab the disc pads over here. Just get them tucked in there nicely. And here we can put the caliper back on. Alright, so bolt it down there. And let's go around here. Just bolt it down. Alright, just checking all of these bolts if they are still nice and tight. Yeah, that looks very good. Alright, so over to the opposite side. Let's grab our half axle first of all, before we forget. Alright, half axle and then front hub carrier. Just like this. And let's just zip those 2 bolts down. Let's just come around to this side. Alright, that is looking very good, and these are still nice and tight. Alright, let's just check the last one back there. That is looking very good. Alright, so next up we are going to put our brake disc on. And let's just get that zip down over there. And then we got our brake caliper over here. We need to mount on this corner. Alright, let's just zip it down there. And these 2 bolts over there. Alright, that is still nice and tight. Alright, perfect. Now we can start with the 2 parts we needed to replace on the suspension. Well, actually, this part is the old one. The old steering link. That still seems to be good enough for now. And then we've got a brand new tie rod, because the one we took off the truck was, yeah, it was a little bit worn. So we're just going to go ahead and slap this new one on over there. Be sure to get it bolted down there as well. And I believe the last one would be up there. No, obviously on this side. There we go. Alright, so that is sorted. Alright, so the last piece of the puzzle would be the wheels. And then we can get this thing lowered down. So let's just get all of these wheels bolted down again. Alright, the rear left wheel. Back into position. Perfect. And let's grab the last 2 wheels. Right, and this is the last wheel. Let's get this fitted as well. Alright, so that is looking very good. So we are now finally ready to put this thing back on its wheels once again. So let's just get our lift lower down. Nice and easy. And we're going to just take all of these lift arms out from under the truck. Alright, good stuff. And now I think we can probably try and change the fuel filter, or the fuel line actually. Getting a little bit mixed up with all the fuel words and fuel parts. Right, so there's our old crusty fuel line. That is yeah, quite worn. We're just going to chuck that. Let's grab the new one over here. And just find the sweet spot where we need to mount this. Alright, so there we go. And we're just going to lean in here and bolt it down over there. And that is sorted. So from what I can see, this truck is nearly perfect now. We don't have any more mechanical issues on it that I know of. And I'm pretty sure this thing is going to have some decent brakes again, because we replaced all of the brake components that were worn and missing. Right, so we're just going to fire this thing up and just pull it right over to the side where the Ram truck is parked. Luckily this is the old concrete we are driving on, so no problems there. Alright, so if we move this over here, I think it's going to be nice and out of the way if we need to pull the BMW up onto the 2-post lift there. Alright, so we're just going to put it here. And there we go. So our truck is definitely running, and I did feel the brakes now. They are much better. So I think it's going to be a lot safer for us to use this truck in the future. And yeah, this green is actually growing on me. But yes, I don't know. Maybe drop some comments down below. Do you guys think we should give this thing a respray? Maybe change the color up. Maybe we can even do the two trucks in the same color. So yeah, I've got some thoughts for colors that I would prefer maybe. Just a little hint towards the sign up there. I'm thinking cyan. Because as you guys know, our first truck, the F100, was actually a cyan color. So I was thinking of replicating the cyan color and then putting that logo of ours on the doors as like company vehicles, almost similar to what Alan had at his shop. But yes, I haven't heard from Alan in a while. He's been quite a bit busy. He's probably still enjoying his holiday. But yes, enough of that. Let's get back to work. We are going to need our toolbox, which I almost forgot I put outside. Alright, so let's grab this and see what it's going to take for us to get this engine removed. I think if we lift the car up a bit, I'm going to be able to get the exhaust removed. Alright, so let's go up. And I think that is high enough. We do not want to go and bash the hood against the roof over there. And also the front end of the car was nearly catching the garage door, so we definitely need to be careful with this 2-post lift inside the shop here. So yeah, I think just the exhaust, which I did replace actually. This is a brand new exhaust, so it should still be quite good. Alright, so there it is. I'm just going to leave it here under the car. I think let's just be safe and move it that way for now. Alright, and then in terms of taking the gearbox out, we're going to have to undo the drive shaft over here. And we'll also see if there are any bolts on the transmission. It doesn't look like it. So yeah, that is basically the transmission free from under the vehicle. So if we lower this thing down. Alright. And now we can just unbolt the wire and then the bolts on the transmission itself. So that should free up the transmission, which it does. Alright, so we're just gonna drop it down and we'll just grab it from underneath the car here. Alright, so upon inspection, the gearbox doesn't look too bad. We are not going to put it on the table, because the table I actually cleared up for all of the engine parts, because we are definitely going to be digging into this engine. Alright, so let's see what we need to undo over here. I think let's start with our fuel line. So we've already got a new fuel line on the table over here as well. So this one is old and crusty. That'll probably end up in the trash. So let's just throw it out there for now. Right, and let's see what else we need to do. We've got our alternator bolt, or the wire on the alternator. We've got this engine mount on this side and the earth cable there. Right, over on this side, I believe if we just loosen up this engine mount over here, there it goes. Alright, so we've got our engine out. Just going to pop it onto the engine stand. And there we go. Right, so that is nice and secure, so we can start working on that. But what I also want to do is remove these radiator hoses. So that one is definitely shot. And this one over here is, yeah, probably also a bit worn, but we can just quickly have a look at it. Alright, so it's not too bad. So that radiator hose is still decent. So we are going to have to replace this upper hose. And let's lastly remove our radiator. Alright, and these two bolts over there. And let's have a quick look at this radiator. Alright, so the radiator itself looks fairly decent. I will definitely reuse the radiator. There's no need to replace this. So the only part we really need to replace on the radiator is the upper hose. Alright, so let's go ahead and put our lower hose back on. Alright, so that can just stay here under the table where it's going to be out of the way. Right, so in terms of the cabling, or the actual battery cables and such, I want to see if we can just maybe get these removed as well. I don't know if they are going to come out. We'll probably have to unbolt the battery. So let's do that quickly. Alright, so here's our battery, which we already know is still fairly decent. And there's our wiring. We might as well replace the wiring as well. So we're just going to pop it outside so that we remember to get all the parts we need for the engine bay. Come to think of it, actually, now that I look at this, it's not that bad, actually. We might actually still be able to use it. And yeah, that is our engine bay, nice and clean. Everything stripped out, so we can definitely work in this engine bay now. What I do want to check still is this brake booster. I want to see if we can just investigate it a bit and see what condition it's in. Because this is the only brake part that I haven't really checked. But yes, it actually seems to be quite new, so let's just go ahead and reinstall it. Alright, and then we'll just get it all bolted down nicely again. Alright, so perfect. We are now going to start with the engine on the stand here. So let's start at the back. I'm going to get the flywheel removed with all of these clutch components. Alright, so just the 6 bolts on this pressure plate. Alright, and then we can investigate each and every part as we take them off. And yeah, everything that looks a little bit more worn than half of its lifespan, I would say we need to replace. So that is number 1, the part we need to replace. The clutch plate itself still looks good. We're going to keep that. Let's do the flywheel quickly. Alright, so the flywheel itself is, yeah, going to replace that. Alright, so I don't know if I should really, yeah, I think so. Let's chuck the parts we're going to replace on the floor here next to the table. We'll put only all of the good parts on top of the table, the ones that we are going to plan on reusing. So that's going to make it a bit easier for us to figure out what's good and what's bad. Alright, so this fan is going to pop off just like that. I believe they actually call this a ventilator. So yeah, we're going to replace the ventilator or the fan. Alright, and then, yeah, let's quickly grab the alternator belt. Also a bad part. I'm going to chuck that on the floor. Alright, and then this pulley is also very rusty. Like we saw this in the last episode already. So already know that is something we have to change. And next up we're going to remove this water pump. Alright, and that's the last bolt for that. And there it goes. Yeah, water pump. let's just replace it. Yeah, if we keep at this, we are going to be replacing everything. Right, so let's check the alternator. Yeah, alternator is still good, so that can stay. Alright, let's take off the timing cover here at the front. Alright, so there it goes. Timing cover. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and stick with that. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe if we want to do a custom paint job on the engine, we'll have to replace some of these parts. So yeah, I'll still think about it and make sure we don't replace parts unnecessarily. Thermostat housing, we're gonna chuck it. We're gonna get a new one of those. Camshaft sprocket and the timing chain. Alright, so the sprocket is still good. Going to reuse that sprocket. Timing chain, definitely bad, so we're gonna replace the timing chain. Alright, so for the crankshaft sprocket, we're gonna need our pry tool. Where did the toolbox go now? Over here. Alright. Now let's just bring this toolbox a bit closer. We'll put it over here. Alright, so let's pop this sprocket off. Alright, sprocket is, yeah, that's quite a bit worn, so we're going to replace that. Let's also pop out this camshaft. Alright, so the camshaft is decent. Gonna keep that around. Definitely, we're gonna reuse it. And I don't think there's anything else we need to pry off just yet. So let's put that back in there for now. Alright, and then what's next? Let's maybe pop off this valve cover. Alright, so just these 5 bolts. Alright, the valve cover. Might as well replace this. I'm just going to chuck it on the floor. Right, so the rockers. Let's remove these rockers over here. Alright, the rockers are still very good, so we can reuse the rockers. Alright, so let's get these manifolds removed. Alright, so let's start with the exhaust manifold. Right, so there's our exhaust manifold, and let's just have a closer look at it. Yeah, it's definitely on its last leg, so that is gonna go to the trash. And then, alright, let's start with the air cleaner. Alright, air filter lid. Alright, so the lid looks good. Air filter doesn't look too bad. And let's have a look at this housing. Yeah, even the air filter housing is good, so yeah, these are all decent parts. Let's just check. Okay, water pump needs to go on that side. Alright. Carburetor. This carburetor appears to be good, but let's just have a closer look at it. Yeah, carburetor steam definitely seems to be good, so we're going to keep that around. I don't think I'm going to bother with spark plugs, because we are going to replace the spark plugs regardless of the condition of these. Spark wires are still good. I'm going to keep those around. Alright, let's see what else we've got here. We've got our ignition coil. Let's check this out quickly. Yeah, we're going to replace that. Definitely. Alright, and distributor. Yeah, let's replace the distributor as well. And the fuel pump. Yeah, of course, fuel pump is also worn quite badly, so we're going to replace it. And oil filter. Yeah, this oil filter still seems to be fairly new, so we're going to reuse that oil filter. I mean, yeah, there's no use in buying parts if the parts are still good on the engine. Alright, so let's rip this intake, well, this whole cylinder head off, because I'm not going to take the intake manifold off, because the head and the manifold are both quite bad. We do have some decent spark plugs in here, but these things are very inexpensive, so we're just going to go ahead and replace everything. Cylinder head, intake, and also the spark plugs. Same with the head gasket, that is also gone. Right, so next up we are going to just spin this thing over, right, and expose the oil pan bolts here. Going to undo all of them. Right, and the lower ones as well. Alright, so the oil pan itself is looking a bit tired, so we're going to replace the oil pan. And what do you know, the crankshaft is also a bit bad, so we're going to probably have to replace that. Alright, so piston number 6. Yeah, we are stripping from the back, so that's number 6. Yeah, we're going to replace that. Piston number 5. Alright, piston number 5 is still good. Should actually try and keep these things in order, but yeah, it's not really a big issue. Right, and let's just tweak it, twist it a bit here. I think that's fine. Right, this piston over here, number 4. Let's just see. Right, so that is going to be replaced. I think engine internals, might as well just make sure everything is very good inside here, because yeah, there's no harm in replacing it while it's open. Alright, so this piston is still very good in piston number 3. So that is good. Number 2. Let's have a look at number 2 over here. Alright, so number 2 is, yeah, it's quite a bit worn. We're going to just get a new piston for number 2 as well. And then let's check the last one over here. Alright, so number 1 is also good. So yeah, that is quite interesting that we have 3 pistons that are good and 3 that are bad. So lastly, we're just going to remove this crankshaft, which we already know is bad. Just going to rip it out here. And that is our crankshaft gone. And then last but not least, we've got our engine block completely stripped. The engine block is actually good. I will definitely try and reuse this. I don't think it's necessary to replace it. But yeah, we'll decide. Maybe we want to get a new engine block, a new crankshaft, and maybe all the new pistons, because these are still good. But I think, yeah, it's actually worth replacing all of them. Stuff like the carburetor and air filter and even the rockers, we can still use the old parts because they are sort of bolted around the outside of the engine. The internal parts are the ones that I do not want to take any chances with, so I think we're going to go ahead and replace all of these parts. We're going to replace the engine block as well, I think, and then some new pistons and crankshaft, and just sort all of that out. And as I said, these parts, they are easily removable from the outside of the engine. So I think that is definitely something we can reuse. I think we're going to just go ahead and replace that as well. The timing cover, the clutch plate is still good. It'll still last for quite some time. So yeah, that is going to be my thinking pattern for this. Alright, so what I think we can do now, since we do have got a little bit of time left for the episode, we are going to start looking at Hugo's BMW E36 outside. There's still a bit of front end damage we need to figure out how we're going to repair it. So I think the easiest way would be to unbolt some of these parts that are attached to the front end, including the hood. So the hood is also going to give us a little bit of a better idea what the extent of the damage was. Actually see Hugo did panel beat it a bit, but it's still got a little bit of waviness going on at the back there by the windshield washers. So we're gonna probably try and see if we can either repair this or maybe even repair or replace it. So it's quite yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a process taking a look at all of these parts. Alright, so this fender, I see Hugo also managed to get it straightened out a bit, and it definitely looks better. I wouldn't say it's perfect. So it might still need a little bit of body work on that. We definitely have to get rid of the rust on it. Alright, so as for the other fender, we are just going to go ahead and remove it as well. Because just to check if everything is sort of symmetrical. I don't know if that is the right word that I'm looking for. But yeah, there's the opposite fender. doesn't look like there's any rust on it, so that is very good. And then let's grab our screwdriver. So obviously this headlight is completely missing. We're going to remove this headlight. So we do have got a brand new headlight from Richard's car that is still in very good condition. This one actually looks a little bit worn. So let's just pop off this blinker. Alright, so there's the old blinker. Come on, let's just get it off out of the way over here. So the old blinker's not too bad. We still need to get the opposite side one as well for the left hand side. But I do want to check something here at the front. Yeah, we can clearly see this. So radiator support plastic is yeah, that is shot. We need to get a new one of these. Alright, so as for the front end of this car, we still have to replace this bumper mount. So that looks like it's a bit banged up still. We're going to probably have to cut that off. But you guys know we want to just get our battery removed for that. So let's unbolt the negative terminal here first. There we go. And then the positive. Right, and we're going to grab the battery. Oh, it's got quite a decent battery in the car, so that is a good sign. Alright, and then I think we're going to need our pry tool. No, not the pry tool, the wrench first of all. We're going to just undo this radiator. Alright, so let's take the old radiator out. Alright, so the radiator, yeah, I would say it's actually still brand new. Now let's just check the hoses as well while we are at it. Alright, so the upper hose, we might actually swap that out for a new one as well. Yeah, it's a good idea to just make sure everything is fine. Those hoses are both a bit worn, so we're going to replace the radiator hoses on this car for him. Alright, and then I think now we can go and grab our plasma cutter. So we definitely need to cut off some parts. Alright, so here's the plasma cutter. And yeah, we do have the wheels of Richard's car as well for the BMW with the hubcaps. So I think we're going to probably replace the hubcaps with, yeah, well, all the wheels on this car, because we've got a wheel missing on this end. So I think we might actually be able to send a wheel with Hugo for a spare tire as well, considering he's going to be moving over to the city and there's no really car mechanics there because Alan's shop is still closed as well. Alright, so that's our first two cuts done. I think we need to cut over here and probably be that cut over there. Alright, so that is for our radiator support, which I think was repaired quite well. It doesn't look like it's terrible, but we'll see. Alright, and then as for this front bumper bar or bumper mount bracket, and to just remove it like that, yeah, you can clearly see that's a bit out of proportion. Gonna have to get a new one of these. Right, so moving along, just trying to figure out how this part comes off, if it's actually screwed down maybe, or is it bolted down. I can't really tell. It's a bit weird the way that it sits here, because I don't see any welds we need to cut on this. Wait a second, what are those? Oh, there's the actual screws. Alright, this isn't going in the toolbox. Let's just pop it on there. Right, so it looks like we've got some tiny screws over here, 2 of them, and over on this side there's 2 of them as well. Alright, so there's our grill, basically the grill bracket that goes with the actual grill itself. And then, yeah, clearly we can see there's a couple of suspension parts that are a bit out of whack. So we're going to have to get this thing up onto the 2-post lift for that. And luckily we do have our lift open. But now we don't have a radiator installed, but that is fine, because we are just going to literally start the car, pull it back and pull it up onto the 2-post lift. So let's quickly get our toolbox. Yeah, we'll just put it here on the table for now. Alright, let's get this thing fired up again. Obviously we don't have a battery. Wait a second, let's just get our battery back in. Alright, so now we can try that again, because now we should have power to the car again and try and start this thing up. Alright, yeah, it'll help if I close the door before I actually push the car back. Alright, and let's just do that again. Alright, a tiny bit more. Alright, so let's maybe try and see if we do it like this. I'm going to just pull these arms back because they are a bit extended too far out. Alright, same story of this side. We're just going to pop that under there, and that one should go over there. Alright, so let's get this thing picked up. Alright, so the car is high enough. We can start ripping the wheels off this thing. So we're just going to pop the hubcaps off quickly, the two that are still on the car. I think we'll just chuck them under the table for now. Alright, there we go. And then going to need our wrench for this. So I think let's do one corner at a time once again. So that's our front right wheel. Still looks to be in good condition. Shock absorber over here. Let's just undo it. Alright, so that is a bit rusty. We're going to swap that out. Yeah, I've got a lot of parts that I need to go and buy over the weekend. We're going to grab our spring compressor. Let's just get that out of the way as well. Alright, so this spring actually doesn't look too bad, but we do have the stock ones that came off Richard's car laying around, so we can still pop those in if we need any of those specifically. Alright, so the wheel hub. You can clearly see the hub has got some damage to it. Alright, and then just going to check the brake disc. Yeah, brake disc is shot, basically shot, so we'll replace that as well. Alright, and yeah, I was actually surprised that I managed to get the hub off with the brake caliper installed, so that was quite a bit of a lucky move. Alright, but this caliper is still fairly decent. Let's have a look at the brake hose on this. Yeah, I would say we can reuse this caliper and brake hose combination. Alright, let's unbolt this hub carrier. Hub carrier looks very good. Lower control arm needs to be swapped out, so we're going to undo this. Alright, so there we go. And then we've got our tie rod on this side. Alright, so this tie rod hasn't been touched yet, so that is something we're going to have to swap out. Alright, and steering link. I don't know if this is going to come off before we remove this tie rod, so let's go ahead and just get that tie rod off for now. Alright, and there's our steering link. Yeah, let's get a new one of those for him. And that's his brand new tie rod that he put on, so that is still a good part. We can reuse that. Alright, so let's get this muscle car wheel removed from this corner. I guess he just put on whatever he could find. There we go. Alright, it's a little bit of a slippery wheel. Alright, so suspension on this side, we're going to do the exact same thing. Why do I keep struggling with the bolts from below the car? If we can just stand up and do it from the top. Alright, shock absorber this side. Yeah, that's bad, so we're going to replace it. Let's maybe get the caliper off first this time. Alright, so there's our driver side caliper. Yeah, we're going to replace this caliper for sure. Brake line is still new, so that is something we can still use. So that is looking good. Right, what else do we have? We've got the hub. Clearly you can see the hub is a bit mangled. Yeah, that is definitely from the impact that it was damaged. Right, so the brake disc itself still looks good, so we can reuse that one. So it's quite strange. It's almost as if the brake disc was replaced after the accident, but they didn't bother swapping the hub out, so that is quite interesting. Let's get this hub carrier off. Yeah, once again, the hub carriers seem to be doing very well. I mean, both of those are as good as new. Alright, and we're gonna unbolt this low control arm. Whoa, I nearly had a bit of an accident there. Let's just get our spring compressor first again. Where did I put the damn thing? Alright, so somehow I managed to kick the spring compressor all the way back there. Alright, so let's get this spring removed from this corner. Right, so this one is a little bit more worn than the opposite side one, so we'll just replace it with the ones that we have from Richard's car. Right, so now we can continue with these last few bolts on this cross, on the front suspension. Speaking of the cross member, I think we'll have to just investigate that as well. So I'm going to unbolt the engine mount. And would you look at that, we still need to remove this as well, which is our little steering arm. So yeah, that needs to be swapped out. And let's also just do a little bit of a check up on this steering box before we remove the cross member. Right, so there are the two bolts over there. Alright, steering box seems decent. I wouldn't replace that just yet. This cross member, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it should actually cut off with the plasma cutter. Now we do have the battery connected again, but I think if we just quickly cut these off, it shouldn't be a problem. Just like that, and there's our cross member. Yeah, I'd rather just replace this as well. We'll see if we can get a black one. I think it'll just suit the suspension a bit better if it's all same color. Alright, so let's just put our plasma cutter back. Oh, it's way over there. Alright. Okay, so front suspension done. We're going to start with the rear suspension. Now, I know on these cars it's easier to just remove the whole subframe at the back, because yeah, it's just gonna be a little bit quicker, because then we can disassemble everything on its own afterwards. So these 4 bolts on the subframe will come off, but we do need to take off the shock absorbers. Alright, so let's take these off. Alright, so there's our nut for that side. Alright, so this shock absorber, yeah, we're gonna swap it with a new one. And this one, going to undo that. And that shock is still good, we can reuse it. Alright, so let's carry on. We're just gonna grab our spring compressor once again. Alright, so we've got our spring compressor. Let's just get these springs compressed and just get them out of here. Alright, so not too bad, and yeah, this one is bad, so we'll replace both of them with the ones from Richard's car, and then that is going to make it a lot easier for us. Right, so we are still busy disassembling the whole subframe over here, so just take off these bolts, and I think on this side it's just that one, and there we go. So we've got that removed. Alright, fairly decent. So now that we've got our rear subframe out, we can quickly disassemble this. So let's start with our, I think the calipers. Alright, so let's get that off. Caliper isn't too bad, but I'll rather replace it. Brake line is good, so far all the brake lines are decent. Alright, so let's remove this brake line first of all. Yeah, that's still good. I'll reuse that one as well. Calipers. Yeah, we'll just get new calipers though. Alright, and we're gonna need our screwdriver. There it is. Alright, so let's grab this quickly. Alright, let's undo the brake discs. Brake disc is good on that side. And this one. Let's just see. Yeah, that is also still good, so we're going to reuse those brake discs at the back. Alright, let's pop this hub off on this side. Yeah, that needs to be swapped. And this one is still good. Alright, half axles. Let's get these half axles removed. So they've got 6 bolts. They are a little bit tricky to get to, but once you get your way around it, you can easily take them all off. Let's just get the right angle over here. All right, there we go. There we go. So the one is loose. So that half axle seems to be good. Crossmember itself is actually bad, so everything needs to come off. So we are going to strip all of these parts off this crossmember. Right, so there we go. We've got that loose. So this is a bit easier now. So you can just spin this differential around. The differential needs to be swapped, so we're going to get a new one of these. It's definitely going to cost quite a bit of money, but that is good. Alright, so we've got a good half axle there. Differential needs to be swapped, so we're going to get a new differential. And now we're going to start with the... Yeah, I think let's get all of these arms off on this side. These little control arms. And we'll put the good ones one side, and we'll just obviously scrap the rest. All these rusty ones. I'm not going to bother checking those because you can clearly see they are way too far gone. Alright, so there's that one. Also busted. And then let's just investigate further. Alright, and there we go. And that control arm is still good, so we've got at least 2 good ones so far on this side, which is a good sign because less parts we need to order. Alright, and then let's just see. I think the handbrake cable still needs to be disassembled. It's a little bit tricky. We've got it on this side. And then we've got a bolt over there for the hub carrier, which we need to replace once again. Alright, so let's quickly pop over to this side. We're going to just undo the handbrake cable so that it can come off. Alright, so handbrake cable. Yeah, that's still good. We can reuse it. Alright, and let's check these control arms. Still very good. And that one is still decent. These bolts are a bit tricky to get. There we go. Alright, so this arm. Yeah, we're going to swap that one. This side, we've got the last one of the small control arms. I will call them small control arms. Yeah, that needs to be replaced. Alright, and then over on this side, we still have this nut at the back for this hub carrier. This hub carrier is still good. And then that is the last part attached, which is our lower control arm. I think it's still good. Alright, so that is basically going to conclude the suspension work on this BMW, if we can get all the parts we need for that. So there's obviously still a lot of things we can do to this car, suspension wise and also obviously mechanical wise. I mean, while we are under here, let's just quickly undo this transmission support as well. Right, so the transmission support is good and our drive shaft is loose, so we still need to bolt that down. Alright, what I think we'll do is once we start putting this thing, well, getting all the parts, I will just see if I can get this drive shaft removed, because I think it's a little bit stuck at the moment. We'll have to maybe bang it with a bit of a hammer to get it out, but that is good. I'm not going to bother with it too much. On the upside, this car doesn't have a lot of bad interior parts. Looking at it, we've got a bad driver side door panel, which is quite, yeah, it makes sense that it is mostly worn, because that's where you would mostly get in and out of the car. In terms of other parts, interior wise, everything still looks fairly decent. Seats look good, so we're not going to have to do too much to the interior. Oh, would you look at that? There's our sledgehammer. So Hugo actually borrowed this from me. Actually forgot about it. But yes, our sledgehammer is also in the trunk, which is a good good move. I believe that is probably what he used to straighten out some of these panels, because these were bent quite badly. But yes, so as I said, we are going to order quite a bit of parts over the weekend, and things are just scattered all over the place at the moment. So I've got a little bit of cleanup work to do, and hopefully by tomorrow I can start driving my vehicles up onto this concrete slab again. We are definitely going to get the engine parts for the Limpala's engine. We're going to try and get this thing put back together so that, yeah, we can start giving this car out to clients instead of our 69 Impala. But yeah, I'm sure Hugo will take good care of our 1969 Impala for the time being while he's using it. And hopefully these guys will pitch tomorrow morning very early and sort out this carport for me. Because, yeah, I really want to get the electrician in as well to come and mount some more lights along the beams over here for us. So we've got some good lighting as well. But yes, I think that is also going to be a wrap for this episode. So thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate every view, every like. And also, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. I will appreciate it very much. But yes, until the next time, cheerio.